Good afternoon, everybody, on this blustery, rainy Sunday. And aren't we so happy to see this water coming down to help put out fires and water all of our plants and trees, clean the air. It's a good day. So welcome. My name is Diane Burgess. I'm the chair of the board for the Board of Supervisors here in Contra Costa County. This is our second meeting this week that we're doing redistricting meetings within our districts. And as we scheduled these, at the time the spread of COVID and the vaccination rates in East Contra Costa, particularly in my district, were just too high that I didn't want to plan an in-person meeting. And I think based on the weather today, that was also a good decision. Redistricting is a really important thing we do every 10 years, and it's based on the census data that we collect. And I've got to say, Contra Costa did a fantastic job collecting the data, or helping the census collect the data. So we had a really good census last year. Public input is another big part of the redistricting process because it ensures that everything is fair and logical and considers all the different things that we're required to consider. Personally, I love maps. I love data. I love making sure everybody is represented and engaged. So to me, this is also a really interesting process to be in the middle of. So I hope that you will, participate, learn how to use these maps, learn what our requirements are, really pay close attention to the time constraints we have. Mostly, a lot of it has to do with the fact that our census data was delivered to us so much later than in previous censuses. So we are on an escalated kind of schedule. But we've tried to communicate that for the whole year, knowing that this was how it was going to be. And so, we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. And we really appreciate you getting the word out for more people to participate. So with that, I think I have gone over everything. Before his retirement, I asked our county administrator, our previous county administrator, to help us with the redistricting process. He has such a fine understanding of the county, of the people, and the politics, and all of the special communities we need to serve. And so I thought he was the perfect person to help us go through this process, not to even realize that we were going to be doing this through a pandemic. So I'm going to introduce our former CAO, County Administrator, David Twa, and he is going to take it away. Thank you, Mr. Twa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be here today to discuss this redistricting. As you indicated, this is the second of a series of workshops we're having with individual supervisors. I'm going to put my mask down because we are in the boardroom, we are socially distanced, and all of us have been vaccinated. Just makes it just a little easier to present the information. I do have an announcement to start with, and that is for viewers who are watching this workshop on CCTV. Because of the weather conditions, we've learned that the channel may go off the air sometime during this meeting. So please consider watching via Zoom. You can use the instructions on the screen or go to www.cocoredistricting.org and you will find a link to the Zoom process. Thank you.
Como siempre vamos a hacer, como siempre para las personas ayer a través de CCTV nos hemos enterado que el canal puede que deje de funcionar en un momento dado. De modo que por favor pueden verlo a través de Zoom con las instrucciones que aparecen en pantalla. Así que vayan a Zoom y a www.cocoredistricting.org para buscar el enlace. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. So as the supervisor mentioned, redistricting is something that we have to do every 10 years based on the census that was conducted in 2020. Normally, we would receive the data and start the redistricting process in April of the year following the census. Unfortunately, and as the supervisor mentioned, we did not receive the official California redistricting database, which is the numbers that we need in order to conduct the redistricting. That was not released until September 20th of this year. The reason we use the California data is because that includes information concerning incarcerated population reallocation numbers. So what the state does is they take prisoners who are held at the state institutions, not our local jails, but the state institutions, and they allocate those out to the various cities and counties based upon where the individual resided before they were incarcerated. So in that case, it changed our numbers relatively small, but nevertheless, we had to wait until we received those official numbers before we could move forward with the redistricting. Based on those numbers, this is what the current districts look like. It may be a little hard to read, but basically, one of the things to keep in mind is that by law, we are allowed to have what's called a population deviation of up to 10% from the mean. That means a plus or a minus 5% above the average. So if you consider the average population for each district should have been somewhere in that 329,000 population, essentially the districts could go, a district could be up or a district could be down, in which the total would amount to less than 10%. So based on the new numbers that we received in September, essentially the current deviation in Contra Costa County is 7.91%. And the way this works, because it is sometimes confusing to the population, you take the number that is highest above the mean on one side and the number that is lowest on the downside from the mean. So in this case, when you add those two figures together, the total becomes 7.91%. As the supervisor indicated, one of the things that we've been trying very diligently is to make sure that we have robust public outreach. And one of the things that we've done is if you go to our dedicated redistricting site, essentially you can subscribe, and if you subscribe, anything that we put on that website will be pushed out to you so that you will get the most up-to-date information possible. We see that basically we've had a little under 5,000 people who have actually gone to the website and looked at the information. But if you look at the information we have sent out by Twitter or Nextdoor posts, that's over 117,000 contacts. There is a complete redistricting communications report that's available as an attachment to our October 19th public hearing board order. Also, as we move forward with this process, when we have the next public hearing, which will be on November 9th of this year at 9 a.m., we will have updated information covering the public outreach and how we're attempting to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate. This is the redistricting hearing schedule that we have had. We started with the first one on August 10th of this year. That's allowed, even though we did not have redistricting data at that time. The reason we had an early one was to basically let the public know about the redistricting process, how it was going to operate, but also to show our dedicated redistricting website, which was up and running as of the 1st of August, so that people would have the opportunity to start looking at how they might want to view their own communities of interest, or even look at drafting maps as far as what they believe the supervisory district should look like. As I indicated, on September 20th, we received the California State Adjusted Redistricting data. And so then we had a public hearing on October 5th, another one on October 19th to present that information. We are now in the process of handling the workshops that the supervisor mentioned, and following these workshops that'll take place yesterday, today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the intention of the workshops was to hold those at times other than the public hearing that we have for the county, so that there would be more opportunities for people to participate. So the one yesterday in terms of the workshop was at 9 o'clock. Today's, as you know, started at noon. The ones on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will each be in the evenings, and they will some of them will start at 6:30, some of them will start at 7 p.m. And again, the goal is to make as many opportunities for people to be engaged in the process, to learn more about how they might draft their own versions of communities of interest or district maps, as well as be provided up to date on where we are in the process. Following these workshops, we have scheduled 2 more public hearings, one on November 9th at 9 a.m. in the county boardroom, and another one on November 23rd, again at 9 a.m. in the county boardroom. All of these are necessary in order to complete the redistricting by the required statutory deadline, which is December 15th of 2021. As I indicated, here's the individual supervisory workshop schedule, and as the chair indicated, some of these will include in-person opportunities. Some of them will just be virtual by either Zoom or call-in, a lot of it depending upon a number of different issues. As you can see, the one on Monday, for example, will be in person, and that will be hosted by Supervisor Karen Mitchoff. That one's going to be at the Pleasant Hill Community Center starting at 7 p.m. Then there will be a joint one hosted by Supervisor Burgess and Supervisor Glover Tuesday evening. That will start at 7 p.m. That will be in the board chambers here. That one will be by Zoom and call in only. And then there'll be one on Wednesday hosted by Supervisor John Joya. That one will involve in person and will be held at the San Pablo City Hall starting at 6:30 p.m. And then the final workshop that we've planned will be on Thursday, October 28th, here in the County Board Chambers. Again, that one will be Zoom only and will be hosted by Supervisor Federal Glover. Part of the reason of setting up these individual workshops is to have the format decided by the supervisor and to look at areas in their particular district that may be issues in terms of communities of interest or the supervisory map. However, each workshop is open to anybody in the county or anybody worldwide for that matter, because it is available for you to participate by Zoom or by call-in feature. So it's not that it will only cover a particular supervisor's district, but rather will be available to cover and answer any questions or concerns each and every resident of the county or person who is interested in the redistricting process has in mind. One of the things that's important to remember is that the California has set up some mandatory, very strict guidelines. So as I indicated, we must by law be done with the districting by December 15th. And there is a period of time during which obviously maps have to be published for a period of time before they can be adopted. And because of that, that's why we show the last public hearing as set for November 23rd in order to meet these timelines, in order to have everything completed and done by that December 15th deadline. The board is required to hold at least 4 public hearings. And as you saw from our earlier slide, we actually have scheduled 5 public hearings. And in addition to that, we have scheduled the 6 workshops that we've already talked about. One of the public hearings must by law be held either on a Saturday or Sunday or after 6 p.m. And we complied with that at our last one on October 19th. That meeting started at 6:15 p.m. The other thing to note is the public hearings have to be at a fixed time regardless of any other agenda items. And the goal, of course, is to make sure that the redistricting is well scheduled and that people don't have to wait before they can participate on it. One of the things that we do in California is we have what's called a number of responsibilities, including the Fair Maps Act. And the Fair Maps Act actually schedules ranked priorities. And many of these priorities are specific. Many of them are also to the extent practicable. So as you note on the first one, it says to the extent practicable, supervisory districts shall be geographically contiguous. And every map that we have proposed, every map that we have seen from the public basically has met this requirement. The second ranked priority is that the geographic integrity of a local neighborhood or a community of interest has to be respected in order to minimize its division. And then the third one, again, to extent practical, is that geographic integrity of a city should be maintained to minimize its division. Now, one of the things that we hear repeatedly is the desire for each city to basically be kept whole during the process. As you can see by this ranked priorities, it's to the extent practical, but it's also in terms of minimizing its division. And as we've seen in years past, we've had cities that have been divided, and a number of the maps that we have looked at for this year would continue to have one or more cities potentially divisible so that they're supported by more than one supervisor. Some people like that idea. Some people do not like that idea. And so as we go through this process, that will continue to be an item that will be discussed not only by the board, but certainly by members of the public, as well as any maps that are drawn that identify communities of interest or specific supervisorial boundaries. So what is a community of interest? Because this is one of the high-ranking priorities. This is taken specifically out of the statute. A community of interest is a population that shares common social or economic interests, such that it should be included for the purpose of effective and fair representation in a single supervisory district. Now, the statute also says a community of interest can be almost anything, but it has to be identifiable by a specific geographic area. So here are some examples of communities of interest. Urban or rural interests, housing patterns, social interests, community centers, school districts or school attendance areas, as well as city boundaries, and then policy issues, concerns about crime or education, or perhaps employment or economic patterns. On our dedicated redistricting website, we have a much more extensive list of examples of community of interest. But again, they can be just about anything as long as they are defined in geographic terms. So with that, we have a couple presentations to help people who are interested in drawing maps. Christine Salsing from our Department of Conservation and Development Mapping Division has basically worked very hard on these issues, as has Chris Howard, who is one of the people who will be doing the maps. So at this point, I'm going to turn this over to Christine to actually walk you through the process in terms of if you're interested in drafting a map, followed by which she will turn it over to Chris to discuss in terms of what some concept maps that we have drawn for consideration by the board. And then finally, we'll turn it back to Supervisor Burgess for any comments that she has, as well as an opening up for public comment and input either by Zoom or by call-in. Anything further before I turn it over to Christine, Chair Burgess?
Yeah, I don't know if Christine's going to be able to just pop this number out, but what is the unincorporated population? I think it's somewhere like 170, 160, 180, something like that, 1,000 people. Is that somewhere around the right number?
That sounds like the right
sorry.
number, but I definitely would want to double check. I wish I could remember numbers like that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Not my skill set.
I just want to point that out because the thing is that while we want to serve our cities, we also serve our unincorporated areas, much like the city council or the city government would serve a community. And so as much as we need to serve our cities, we also have a large unincorporated population spread throughout the whole county, not in one area, but throughout the whole county, some more in others. But when we're looking at our numbers, that's another consideration that's just as important, because a community that feels attached to one community, if it's cut off because of the numbers, it's hard on that community. So I understand some of the ideas about splitting cities and all of that, but I want to make sure everybody understands we're looking at the whole picture of a county, and we're serving a rather large, I don't know what the population of Concord is, which is our largest city, but I believe the number of people we serve in unincorporated Contra Costa is larger than our largest cities, maybe even double, well, not double, but it's significant. So I just want to make sure people, they think, the cities are something important, and it is, but we are considering the whole population, and somewhere between a fifth to a sixth of our whole population in Contra Costa County is unincorporated people. So I just wanted to point that out. Take it away, Christine.
Chair Burgess, Christine, hi, this is Chris Howard. While you were asking that question, I took the liberty to go get you an answer. You're right. The city of Antioch is the highest populated city with 115,580. The unincorporated county population is 177,181. So yeah, it's quite a bit bigger than the largest city.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. So, thank you.
And thanks for having me, Chair Burgess. And thanks for spending your birthday celebrating with us, talking about redistricting. It's an exciting way to celebrate. I'm just going to quickly go over the website, and in particular, our District R mapping program. This is our redistricting website. The URL is www.cocoredistricting.org, and there's a lot of information on the website and everything, public input, and then you can look at it in either Spanish or Chinese, so it is hopefully accessible to everybody. We always have the highlight of the next event right front and center, and our draft concept maps, a list of all the upcoming events. And then on the bottom of every page, there's a lot of information about how to provide input. And I'm just going to go to one of these, like draw and submit public interest maps, which will take us to our Contra Costa County redistricting portal. This is District R's comment portal. District R is run out of a math lab at Tufts University, with the intent to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to provide input on the redistricting process. And they're working all over the country right now with the program. On this site, there's an introduction and a summary of what the different types of input might be, like a district plan or a community of interest. Some resources about how to draw a map, and we also have more resources on our website. And later on, we'll take us to the how to draw a map here, and drawing a district map. So community of interest map or a district map are two different applications that they have. Some more resources that might be helpful if you want to go back to read those. Following that is how to submit a comment and there are a comment form, and I just want to highlight a couple key components. You need to have a submission title and information about why this is important. You can use a tag, especially if you're with like a community organization like League of Women Voters. You could tag League of Women Voters, and then everyone who has a plan as part of your organization can have the same tag, and you can search for that later. And tell us about yourself. It's important that you have some sort of first name or identifier and an email address. And you should get an email after you submit your map to confirm that you are indeed a human and not a robot. This just helps District R in making sure that they don't get a lot of spam. And finally, there's a couple disclaimers that we ask that you submit. One, that you understand that this is a public comment and it will be posted. We're required to post public comments. But we will not post your email address or your phone number, even though we asked for them. And that if you have any questions that someone can follow up with you, just in case we have a question about your map. And finally, at the bottom is our submission gallery. These are all the maps that have been submitted. And some of them are maps, and some of them are communities of interest or comments. I also would like to highlight that there's 5 maps here. These were the maps that were presented at the October 19th meeting. So you can see them in District R in addition to the PDF. So I'm going to go up, and if we would click this Communities of Interest button, so just so we don't have to wait and load everything, it'll bring up this map. This is a District R mapping application. There are some tools at the top here. So this is pan. This will allow you to move around the map. I'm gonna actually go down to an area that we know we've gotten some communities of interest. And if you want to paint a map, you use a paintbrush tool. If it's really big, I'm going to do this Black Hawk, Tasahara, Diablo area with San Ramon and Danville. We've gotten some comments about that. It can be really big, or if you want to be more detailed, you can make it small, and then you can only highlight just a few, and you can get a little bit more detailed in your painting. Fill that in. Same thing for erasing it. Oh, I don't want that to be included, so I'm going to take those out. There are some data layers to help you paint. You can put these on at any time when you start a map or in the middle of your map. You might want to know where the census designated places are. Oh, this is outside the census designated place. I'm going to take it out. The municipalities. That might mean that now I see that Danville is all the way here. I want to get all of that. And then the current supervisorial districts. So you can see that this is currently in District 3, and the San Ramon and Danville communities are in District 2. So that's my comment right here. You can also show the population by race, the total population, or the population is by race or by the voting age population. And then there's some evaluation about what is in your community of interest here. We just ask that you name it. San Ramon Valley, and then you would describe it. This should be together. You can be more articulate than that. Once you've created your community of interest, you can save it. And there's 2 options once you save. The first option is right up here. It says use this URL to share your plan. So you can copy this. And this is helpful for, let's say you're not quite done with your map and you know that you want to come back, but you have dinner to prepare for your child or whatever. We all have life that happens. So you can copy this to your clipboard and send it to yourself in an email or a Word document. And then when you go back, you can continue working on the map, and it will not be submitted to the county, but you'll still have all the work that you've saved. Or maybe you want to share it with a friend. That's another way that you can share this information without it being submitted. But if you are ready to submit, you can go to this button down here, proceed to submit map, and it will take you right back to our community portal and will self-populate the map URL, and then you just need to submit your title, answer some questions, and you can go ahead and submit. And once you authorize your email, it will show up down here. I'm not going to submit this because it's not my map. And then the second map that we have, oops, let me move that down, is right here. This is the redistricting map if you want to create a map of the districts. So it's very similar. The tools are similar. But if you hit paint, there's 5 colors instead of 1. And so here you can start painting your districts like that. A couple features that are important. If you want to lock and you like what you do, what you have, you can click this button, select the next color, and it won't go over that color. And it also won't go over the county boundary, so you can continue to paint on those districts. You can see that as you paint, there's data that is provided about how many people are in your districts, and this line right here is the ideal. They'll tell you how many more population you have, and then also you can use this button to highlight unassigned units. This is really helpful because I thought that I had gotten everything in this area, and you can see that there's some blocks that I might have missed. So I can go back, select my blue button, and then click here, and now I've filled that in. Once again, the data layers are the same. You can look at the population by race. You can add boundaries if you want. And then there's an evaluation of what the population looks like, population by race, total population, as well as the voting age population. And then it's exactly the same if you want to go and save your plan. I'm clearly not done here. I want to come back to it. I would hit clipboard, or if I just wanted to really focus on these 2 districts, you do not have to submit a complete plan. You can submit an incomplete plan, and then you can just proceed here. And this shows maybe a boundary that I'm really interested in between 1 and 2. I think that is all that I have on how to draw a district map. Before I turn it over to Chris, does anyone have any questions? Since it's sort of a technical aspect.
Jamie, do we have people calling in?
Or we can take questions later.
Or do we want to wait till we finish?
Probably wait till we are finished would be
Okay.
the best.
All right. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Then I will turn it over to Chris, and he'll go over. Oh wait, can I say one more thing? I'm going to do one more quick thing here. If you want to, this is a submitted map. This is one of our submitted maps. It's Contra Costa County Concept 1. And there's a couple things that you can do both for the county submitted maps or any member of the public.
Your screen's not showing right now.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. There we go. But I clicked that. I just clicked in the gallery to get to this screen, and it shows our map, and you could do this for our map or a member of the public's map. So you could proceed to submit a comment right here. I'll take you back to that form, and it will associate your comment with this map. So if you have a very specific comment about a map, you could submit it this way, or else if you really like this map, but you just want to change a couple things, you could view that map in District R and make your changes and resave it. Let's say, and it will be a new map. So let's say I just don't like this one area right here. Like, no, this needs to be in 2 as well. You could save it and submit it as your revised map. I just wanted to highlight that, especially since we have our concepts available, that members of the public can take a look at the concepts and then make tweaks to them as they see appropriate. And now I think I'm officially done.
Thanks, Christine. I would like to make a quick correction to what I said earlier when I interrupted everybody. So I said that Antioch was the biggest city. Actually, Antioch's the 3rd biggest city. The 1st biggest city is Concord at 125,000. The second is Richmond at 116, and Antioch is third at 115. But it is true still that the unincorporated population is much higher at 177,000. I, however, am going to show you guys the concept maps that we showed at the public hearing on October 19th. This is the first map, and each map I'll go through, I'll kind of start over here in West County and move in a counterclockwise direction to get you an idea of the changes that we made to the existing supervisorial districts from 2011. The existing supervisorial districts are kind of in light yellow here. You can make them out some places better than others. So if you look in District 1, you can see Pinole used to be split by the supervisorial districts. And in this map concept, and in fact in all the map concepts, we've brought Pinole whole into District 1. As we move counterclockwise, there's a community, an unincorporated community called Release Valley here between Lafayette, Pleasant Hill, Martinez, and Walnut Creek. That's it's quite a jumble of overlaps. It's got 3 different school districts and it's got 3 different city SOIs, but not in the same places. So it can get pretty confusing. In this map concept here, it is split up by school district. So everything in the Martinez School District is in District 5. Everything in the Lafayette School District is in District 2, and everything in Mount Diablo Unified School District is in District 4. Down here, Walnut Creek, you can see, used to be split pretty much by the freeway, but also downtown Walnut Creek was split by the supervisorial districts between 2 and 4. This map concept brings the entire incorporated part of Walnut Creek into District 4, plus some of the unincorporated areas that used to be in District 2, such as the Acalanes Ridge CDP and the Castle Hill CDP. And then the Saranaps CDP is actually split in 2 based on the spheres of influence, because this area has a portion of it in Lafayette's sphere of influence and another portion in Walnut Creek's sphere of influence. And real quick, I'd like to quickly define the CDP, the Census Designated Place. It's something it's an acronym that I'm going to throw around a lot, and I should probably let you know what it is. It's basically the U.S. Census Bureau's way of distinguishing areas. They're unincorporated. They don't have official boundaries, but this is how the Census Bureau keeps track of their population. So they'll make an area in census geography based on these areas, and these are the names of them. And so you can see this one. The areas with Walnut Creek's SOI are in District 4, and the areas outside it are in District 2. As we further move around the map in a counterclockwise direction, these areas, Diablo CDP, Blackhawk CDP, Camino Tasahara CDP, and the rural Tasahara Valley are currently all in District 3. This concept puts all of those into District 2. In the Mount Diablo area, and also in some other areas you might notice in rural parts of the county, the lines have changed, and this is usually due to the census geography having changed. As David, I think, indicated at the beginning, we have to kind of follow census geography when we make these maps. And the lines that we used last time, these yellow lines, just don't exist anymore. They changed the blocks, they changed how they're arranged, and so some of these are not available to us. Which is why you'll see this. This is all pretty much in Mount Diablo State Park, so there's really not many people here. In this map, you can see the Morgan Territory Road area stays in District 3, and as we circle around Antioch, the city of Antioch was split last time by this yellow line, which followed mostly Highway 4 until it got to Cavallo Road. Then it shot up north to East 18th Street and followed that out to the city limit with Oakley. Likewise, there's this small area here, which was recently annexed into Pittsburgh. And so this map concept and all map concepts that we're going to show move this area. Right now, there's nobody that lives there, but we've moved this into District 5 in this concept map to join the rest of Pittsburgh. But in this map, we're splitting Antioch by the railroad, the Union Pacific Railroad here. And then as we continue to move in a counterclockwise direction, you'll get to the city of Concord. You'll notice the city of Concord basically the city limits follow the old yellow line here, the old district line. And this map splits the city of Concord by Willow Pass Road, Concord Ave, and the 680 freeway. You'll notice in this concept map, the total variance is 7.5%. And on this second page, and all the concept maps we've shown, we have two pages. One where you get that detailed view at all the neighborhoods or communities rather, and this one which has a lot more data on it. And you'll notice from this graph here, that District 2 has a very high variance of 4.9%, and District 3 has the lowest at negative 2.55. So if you add these two numbers together, you get 7.45, and that is the variance for this concept map. Also on the right here, you've got the total population broken down by race and ethnicity, as well as the citizen voting age population broken down by the same. Moving on to concept 2, we'll start again in the West County area, and I'm going to move a little bit faster where the changes are the same as the last map. So in this map, Panola goes to District 1, Release Valley goes to by school district. In Walnut Creek, this map does something different. It splits Walnut Creek, so part of Walnut Creek remains in District 2, but it splits it on Highway 24 and Interstate 680, which is a little bit more identifiable than the old boundary. And then so that means that the CDPs of Saranac and Castle Hill are entirely in District 2. The CDP of Acalanes Ridge is entirely in District 4. As you move around this map, Diablo, Blackhawk, Camino Taha Sahara, and the San Ramon Valley all go to District 2. And in this map, you'll see something different out here. The Morgan Territory Road area, which includes Morgan Territory Road and part of Marsh Creek Road. This area is now following the school district line, which is the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Folks who already go to school in Clayton would be part of District 4. And then as you circle around District 3 and get to Antioch rather, you'll notice the same thing. Tuscany Meadows annexation goes to District 5. And here we've got a slightly different boundary here. It kind of notches up, and so there's a little pocket here of unincorporated county that goes to District 3, including a marinas, and then there's lots of streets, and so you could follow them here, and it kind of step stairs through Antioch. This one splits Concord down Willow Pass Road, but you'll notice a little notch here where there's a neighborhood here between the former Concord Naval Weapons Station. We've kept that neighborhood whole with the rest of Concord here, with their neighbors. And then following the streets of East Street, Grant Street, and Solano Way, which kind of make one thoroughfare up to Highway 4. Concept 2 has a total variation of 7.66%, with a high of 4.82 in District 2 and a low of negative 2.84 in District 5. The third concept map does the same thing in Pinole. Pinole goes to District 1, Release Valley goes by school district, Walnut Creek goes by Highway 24, Interstate 680, the San Ramon Valley goes to District 2, Morgan Territory Road goes to District 4. As you circle around to Antioch, it makes very subtle changes to the current districts. There's the Tuscany Meadows annexation, and then really just a couple streets different right here where it jogs from Highway 4 to East 18th Street. And as you go into Concord, it follows Willow Pass Road, the former Concord Naval Weapons Station, and then it follows Olivera Road here until it hits Highway 24, and then it follows Highway 24 now down south here. And this little line is the old railroad right-of-way that's currently filled with public storage, but it makes a really clean break between neighborhoods. And the Buchanan Airport is in District 4. This concept has a total variation of 8.82%, with a high of 4.82% in District 2 and a low of negative 4% in District 3. Concept 4 in Pinole goes to District 1, Release Valley goes by school district, Walnut Creek, Highway 24, Interstate 680, San Ramon Valley goes to District 2, Morgan Territory Road in this concept map stays with District 3, and the division is done based on census geography through Mount Diablo. And in this one, there's quite a big difference in Antioch. you'll see that here the split follows Highway 4 rather till you get to Cavallo Road, and then goes north up Cavallo Road and Fulton Shipyard Road. Oh, sorry. And here we are. Fulton Shipyard Road, and creates a different kind of split in Antioch. In Concord, it follows Port Chicago Highway to Bonifacio Street, which kind of cuts through downtown here, and then back up the railroad right of way. So this part of North Concord is in District 5. Concept 4's variance is 8.92%, with a high of 4.81% in District 2 and a low of negative 4.11% in District 5. Our final concept map, same thing. Pinole goes to District 1. Release Valley goes to split by school district. Walnut Creek split by 24 and 680. The San Ramon Valley goes to District 2. The Mount Diablo area is done by census tracts, with Morgan Territory Road area in District 3. Antioch is split not only by the railroad like the first concept map, but also by Summersville Road. So this actually does straight lines, but quite a bit different than current districts here in Antioch. And then in Concord, this split follows Highway 4 here, Highway 242 here, and then up the railroad right of way for the kind of smallest of the Concord splits in these concept maps. This concept map has a total variance of 9.68%, with a high of 4.81% in District 2 and a low of negative 4.87% in District 5. So that is the culmination of all the different concept maps, but I'm happy to answer questions about any of these as we go forward.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Todd, did you have anything to add before I bring it to public comments?
Madam Chair, nothing at this point. Thank you.
Okay. So the way this is going to work is we're going to give people 3 minutes. And please remember that this isn't your only opportunity to contribute. Matter of fact, you can spend a lot of time working on these maps and giving us descriptions of making the case for whatever you believe in. I'm going to ask that our staff look at the unincorporated parts of Contra Costa as a community of interest, just because, like I said before, the Board of Supervisors is their basically their services that they provide. And as I've represented areas in different parts of that in my area that tend to more have school districts or shop or have more connections to other parts of the county, I think it's really important that we at least recognize that. So I'm going to ask for that in the future. So we're going to go to public comments. And so I see we do have people joining us by phone, Jamie.
We have Chris from AT&T in the boardroom, and he's going to moderate both if we have calls and Zoom participants. So I'm going to have him let you know if there are any callers in the call line.
Okay, so I'm going to let you and Angela take it away, and then we will welcome public comments.
And as a reminder, if you would like to make a public comment, you may press #2 on your cell phone device if you're dialed in, or if you are joined in as a Zoom participant, you may click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen.
Si ustedes quieren hacer comentarios sobre los temas que se están tratando, por favor presione el numeral 2 si lo quieren hacer por teléfono o levante la mano si lo quiere hacer a través de Zoom.
So at this time, we do not have any phone callers nor Zoom participants.
All right, so I'm looking at all of you attendees, and I know a lot of you. So I see Annette, Champagne, Cheryl, Courtney. I'm not sure if Mark is one of our public. Nadine, Sean. I know you all are intelligent, caring about your community. So I want you to raise your hand if you have something that you'd like to contribute to this public meeting. There we go. I'm gonna encourage you, if you don't know how to raise your hand, go into the bottom of your Zoom screen and press raise hand. I think that's how it works for everybody. So Sean Gilbert, we're gonna invite you to be a panelist so that you can share your video and unmute yourself once you join us. Am I doing this right? Because this is how we do it in board meetings, but I don't know if we were doing it a different way.
That's Chair Burgess, you are correct.
Okay. And Sean, all you need to do is unmute yourself. There you are. Welcome.
Good afternoon on this Winnie the Pooh blustery day. Okay, well, I'm embarrassed to say that I'm really a novice at learning about all of the redistricting process. I did go on District R, one of the training sessions, to try to understand what Ms. Solsang was showing earlier. So that all made sense to me after the training I had already attended. But I'm curious. I have a curious question about when there's so much conversation about citizen commissions, why the Board of Supervisors in our county are responsible for the redistricting. So that's one of my curiosity questions. Another question I have that I'm curious about is I want to know the different variant maps that were shown by Mr. Howard. And there's such a difference in, like, Supervisor Burgess, you lose quite a bit of percent of population, if I'm understanding this correctly. Whereas District 2, I think it is, Walnut Creek, gains quite a bit more. So I'm wondering, how does this affect, Blackhawk is a large, high socioeconomic area, and I'm curious as to how that might affect voting turnout on certain issues. So that's another curiosity. And the third curiosity I have is on the variance maps that we're looking at, is there consideration of race and ethnicity groups in those changes that are being made, or is it that the population of our community is just so diverse and widely spread that it doesn't take that into consideration? So sorry, I had a few of those.
Thank you, Sean. So I think there's not that many people attending. So Mr. Twa and staff, do you mind if we just answer questions as we go, or do you want to do it like public comments, that we do everything and then come back?
Madam Chair, we can go ahead and answer those questions if you'd like.
Okay.
The reason under the statute, there are several opportunities in terms of how people could move forward on the redistricting. One of them that she mentioned was the Citizens Commission. Under that provision, you could have a Citizens Commission that actually did the redistricting, or you could have a Citizens Commission that was just advisory to the county board. Most counties decided to go with the county board as the redistricting authority, again, in part because of the short timeline from the time we actually received the official census data. So we knew that was going to be a very condensed process, and so therefore our recommendation was that in this case it should be by the Board of Supervisors, and that has been the process that's been followed by most of the counties in the state of California. Interestingly, cities have also looked at whether they wanted to use redistricting commissions or do it themselves. But something you have to keep in mind is that the December 15th deadline is only applicable to the counties. The cities have a timeline that allows them to get their redistricting done about the middle of April. The reason for that is the way the statute is set up is you count back from the date of the primary. So it's 174 days. Since most of the cities hold their primary elections in the fall, they have a longer period of time to consider redistricting. And so therefore, I know a number of them have looked at the use of the citizens commissions as opposed to our process. On the Blackhawk voting, again, I think we are only redistricting for the county supervisory districts. There are issues that come up in various communities that tend to be focused more on their cities or on their school districts, as the case may be. And so part of what we have tried to do, of course, is keep those communities of interest together for the purpose of consideration. But generally, because we have 5 supervisors who are very active throughout the county, we have seen it as less of an issue in terms of votes by a particular area. On the issue of race and ethnicity, by law, the Voting Rights Act is designed to ensure that any proposed district maps do not discriminate. That is why when you look at the maps that we have drawn, they show voting age population, and they also by race and ethnicity, as well as total population by race and ethnicity. So we've been very careful to make sure that all of our concept maps that would be considered by the board meet the Voting Rights Act and do not split racial blocks or discriminate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. I'll say Mr. Todd answered a lot of those questions, but I'll say, one of the things related to a committee versus the board working on it, it takes a lot more time to do a committee. And because of the escalated schedule that we have, particularly this year, it was really either trading off as much community input as possible versus handing it over and trying to push folks to get something done. So, but I understand the point made on that. On the variance that was asked about, one of the things that I'm also looking at is that I have the 2 top fastest growing cities according to the census, and then the 5th largest city growing, and those are my 3 cities. So even if my number is one of the lower numbers, I anticipate that in 10 years, my number will probably be higher than others when we go to work on it. And so we're looking at a point in time that was, counted last year, but I'm looking at for the next 10 years, we'll see a lot of growth. So that variance of having such a low number is something that I look at, but I do also anticipate growth. Related to the ethnicity, we are meeting the voting rights laws and rules. But if there's ways we can do it better, we want to hear it. We want to make sure that this is logical and fair. And then as far as voting turnout, I don't think that can be, the specific thing that determines how we do things. But as a county supervisor in District 3, I'm proud of the work that Contra Costa County is doing to make it easier to vote, whether it's voting by mail or doing all of the different voter turnout types of work that we're doing. But we definitely can do better in certain pockets of the county. And as a supervisor, I can tell you that I'll be continuing to work on that. So we're going to move on to the next public comment. And I'm trying to encourage all of you that are here to raise your hand and speak and help us make this process the best we can make it. We have Champagne Brown here. Welcome, Champagne. We're going to invite you to be a panelist. Please accept that invitation. And then you will need to unmute yourself and share your video if you want. Welcome, Champagne. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Supervisor Burgess. It's been a while since we've seen each other.
I know. Well, I'm all right. Thank you.
Well, I do not have any questions at this time. I think the information presented was very easy to follow. And I do have some homework in looking at all of the maps. So at the next forum that you and Supervisor Glover will be hosting jointly, and then of course my own Supervisor Joya, I will most definitely have questions in. But one of the things that I would like to state for the record is that honestly, I'm very disappointed with the outreach to communities. I myself, as you already know, because I'm very active, I'm an activist and also active in party politics. I'm aware of this process, but for it to be just a few of us on this Zoom call that you were able to call some of us out about asking questions, that concerns me. You know, our communities all should be engaged in this process. And I know at the beginning, Twa said that, you know, we did outreach to like Twitter and to Nextdoor. We know a whole bunch of people still on Facebook. We should have some Facebook ads going. You know, there was other ways to do outreach, including even sending a mailer to those that are, you know, in the various districts. So I'm hoping from here on out, maybe you guys can do a little bit better of a job to do outreach, but at no point in time for these community meetings should it be 10 or less of us on these phone calls. So I look forward to having some questions for you at the next, event that we have.
Thank you, Champagne. And I agree. That's probably been the biggest disappointment, is that we have had less participation. But just going back to 10 years ago, I don't think that it's always been a process that was super participated in. Mr. Twa, can you verify that? It seems like when we've talked before, there wasn't a whole lot of community involvement even in these meetings sometimes.
Madam Chair, 10 years ago when we did it, we had a series of workshops very similar to this, and the turnout, unfortunately, was not more robust than what we're seeing right now. But I would like to address, we have been trying to do many different outreaches with the public. We've increased our media contacts. We've included additional ethnic press media release contracts and releases. We've also targeted, remember, one of the workshops that we did for the public was a Spanish workshop, so to try and get more involvement. Besides the opportunity to subscribe to the county's redistricting process, we have used our website to provide information and resources. But I would agree, we need to make a much better opportunities, and we will continue to try to do so. Additionally, of course, we have the Board of Supervisors each have their own outreach materials, and I know that each of you have been sending out materials in English, Spanish, and Chinese to the residents in your particular areas in the hopes of getting more participation. There is on our website, one of the things we have there is a toolkit that we've sent out to individual organizations to ask them to help get more input from the public. And so we will continue to do those things, but we'd appreciate any help or any ideas that the public have.
Thank you, Mr. Twa. And I have asked my staff to see if we can Facebook Live this on our Tuesday night meeting. So we'll see if we can do that. But I appreciate the feedback. I will say that behind the scenes, we've been trying to work on outreach as well. But I do appreciate those comments. Our next public speaker is Courtney Masala O'Brien. Welcome, Courtney. Please accept the invitation. Haven't seen you in forever either. Let's see. Courtney's from Martinez. I haven't seen her join us. Oh, there you are. Okay. So unmute yourself and share your video if you like.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Burgess. I wanted to just echo what some of the prior commenters have said, and thank you for encouraging us to comment this morning. I do appreciate that, and I appreciate some of the answers that you've given. I did have some of the same questions as Sean, and I was going to make the similar comment to Champaign that I was disappointed with the outreach. I'm pretty engaged in my community, as you know, and I didn't know about this until a friend told me last night. And this morning, going on the Board of Soup's website, the link for today's meeting actually was not very easy to find. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I hope that you can work on improving those things. And I think the Facebook Live for Tuesday is a great idea. Thank you.
I was muted. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate your comments. I think we've kind of addressed those things. So our next public speaker is Nadine. And Nadine, I don't know how to say your name correctly. People say my name incorrectly all the time. It's Burgess, not Burgess, but so I'm gonna just invite Nadine. Welcome, Nadine. Please unmute yourself. Good to see you.
Hi. I pronounce my last name the Spanish way, Nadine Hayrucane.
Hayrucane. Okay, I will try to remember that. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's nice to see you, and thank you for having this meeting. I have two questions. One thing you referred to was the projected population and growth. You have seen those statistics, and I'm wondering if we can also, I mean, maybe they're somewhere, if you can direct me to where I can find out what is predicted for our area. And then my other thought was, I would also like to know about the climate change predictions. I've been hearing some really incredible projections for the state of California in the next 12 years. And certainly this rain today is wonderful, but I don't know if we can count on it. So anyway, so I'm very interested not only in our growth projections, but also what we've looked at with how the climate is going to change this area. And I'm hoping that both things will be considered when you redistrict.
Thank you, Nadine. And again, I'm going to encourage you to go online and do your maps based on those things that you find important for us to consider. I will say that we don't have growth projections incorporated into this. It's just that these areas have grown. I don't think we're considering that for our redistricting. Is that correct, Mr. Twa?
Madam Chair, that is correct. Basically, by law, we're supposed to go by the current population numbers and use those as far as determination of the districts. But there are a lot of materials out there that look to the growth not only of California, but also to the Bay Area. And the best way to go about that is just to Google population, and there are a lot of different sources that look at it in terms of transportation guidelines. And I know the supervisor has been very active in terms of looking at transportation as how that will drive growth in the next few years as well. So there are many of those sources I think that people can look at if they're interested in considering population growth.
Great. Nadine, your hand is raised again, but we're only allowed to do public speakers one more time. I'm going to encourage you to go on to the maps and do your contributions through that. I don't see any more hands raised. I'm going to give you one more chance. If you haven't already spoken, to please speak up. I hope I didn't call you out. I just wanted to encourage as much involvement as possible from our public that attended. And I would hope that you'll share the upcoming meetings as well. Let's see. I want to thank, so I'm going to kind of give my comments. I've come into this with a lot of enthusiasm related to the census work that we did. We had a lot of engagement with lots of groups throughout the county and created some trusted messengers. Those trusted messengers we've worked with on other things as well, whether it was voter turnout, whether it was COVID testing or rental assistance, all of those things. We've been working with our communities. So I think there's also kind of people are a little overwhelmed because there's so much going on. But we will continue to work on the outreach. For District 3, just specifically for those that are listening, this is my second term, and so I've been doing this for about 5 years, and my observations are that the county does a lot of different types of work, and as I stated earlier, one of the things that we do at the county is we provide the services that would traditionally be for, city services to our unincorporated areas. And those unincorporated areas that I have in District 3 are kind of spread out. So there's a community of Camino Tasajara, Diablo, and Blackhawk that are over more on the San Ramon Valley side of the county. And for population reasons, that was included in this district when they redistricted last time. Actually, District 3 used to go from Walnut Creek out to this direction. So as Mr. Supervisor Joya pointed out in our public meeting last week, the redistricting that was done 10 years ago actually kind of cleaned things up. So if you look at the districts, you're not probably going to see a huge drastic change. You're probably going to just see some corrections. So for Blackhawk, Diablo, and Camino Tasajara, I'm serving 3 cities out in East Contra Costa, which is not logical, and they are more connected to cities like San Ramon and Danville. And so I'm looking to make it fair and logical. Love those communities, really great people, love representing them, but I also feel that it should be fair when, like Mr. Twa said, transportation, schools, shopping, community groups. We heard from the Chamber of Commerce is out there. So that makes sense. I also represent Morgan Territory, which really does associate themselves with the community of Clayton. And so to me, I'm not really personally, I want to do what's fair, but I do feel like Morgan Territory should be with the city of Clayton, whoever's representing that, because it makes sense, particularly when we've had issues regarding emergencies and all of that. I also have a personal preference. I am working on a lot of economic development issues. I've been working with our airport out in Byron, and we've brought a whole bunch of new businesses. We're building new hangars. We're trying to create more jobs in East Contra Costa so that people can work where they live and have a quality of life that doesn't involve having to be in a car for 2 to 4 hours a day. And because of that, I'm interested in bringing the waterfront, part of the waterfront, into my district. Not a lot, just a little. And not only because of economic development, but because I work on the Delta issues, protecting us from the efforts by the state to build tunnels. I'm also working on, as Nadine referred to, the climate change issues that we're dealing with as a county, as a world, and particularly on sea level rise. So I am trying to work on water issues, and so I'm encouraging the consideration of the board to include in my district some of the waterfront. But other than that, I will be serving the community however these lines get drawn, and I really, really appreciate all of the participation. This is very important, and to give your time to something that will really make a difference for years to come. I appreciate you giving your time. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Twa. And are there any final changes or additions?
Madam Chair, nothing other than to remind people that this is a series of workshops, and there will be one tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we're hopeful that additional people will be able to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Jamie, am I allowed to close down this meeting now?
Yes, you can, Chair Burgess.
All right. Well, everybody have a great day. Please enjoy this rain. It's a wonderful thing. Stay safe, be kind. And if you haven't gotten your vaccination, let me know. I'm going to call you and harass you. Have a great day. Take care.